Well, hello everybody. This is Paris Prokopis. Welcome to the Paris Prokopis Show. It is Wednesday, March the 16th. All right. We've got one more month till we have to pay our taxes. Yay. Okay, maybe not. Okay. But maybe if I get a refund, then it'll be awesome. But then again, if I don't get a refund, or even if I do, maybe it'll take like 6 months to get it, like it did last year. But anyway, that's a whole different story. That's not what I wanted to talk about today. I'm just reeling over some interesting stuff. But the first thing I want to do is take it. I'm going to go to the city of Mukwonago, this area just southwest of Brookfield. It's still Waukesha County, kind of like the western edge of Waukesha County and stuff like that. I just found out how big Waukesha County was. And there's a school board race there that is rather interesting. I'm just pulling up some notes I've taken on a couple things, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this. It's one of those areas that's a little more conservative, so you're going to have, chances are you're going to have some more Republicans on the ticket and that type of thing. And on there, and I wrote, some of you will remember, I'm going a little bit backward here. I wrote an article about a month or so back, kind of beware of the liberal wolf in sheep's clothing. And I was mainly focusing on Democrats at that point, where Democrats have been basically in these nonpartisan races. In Wisconsin, spring elections are typically nonpartisan. There's school boards, city councils, judges, things like that are all nonpartisan, if there's any such thing. Well, there's always a situation where the Democrats like to hide behind the nonpartisan label, where, they'll say, oh, where do you stand in things? Whoa, oh, yeah, this is a nonpartisan race. I'm just a concerned parent running for school board, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we also have to find out if there's some Republican wolves in sheep's clothing as well. And, first comment of the day, someone, Carol made a comment saying, how do we, isn't it sad how Republicans eat each other alive, Democrats stick with each other? This is why we lose elections and they continue to win. Well, they actually don't always stick with each other. They're having just as much friction as we do. There's different factions in both parties and stuff like that. But you're right. The Democrats seem to have kind of like, they're like mind-numb robots. They're drones of each other. And all they do is parrot each other. They don't think for themselves. It's this, they're like the Borg in Star Trek, this collective mentality. This is all they do. Where on the conservative side, we have many different factions, many different levels of conservatism. And that's what I want to talk about a little bit, what's going on in Mukwonago. On the ballot, you have a couple of seats. There's an incumbent by the name of Mary DeMoor. It's D-A-M-O-U-R. And then there's her opponent, which is a gentleman by the name of Dale Porter. And in this race, I know Dale Porter to be very conservative. He's out there fighting the fight. He was involved with the Stand With Walker rally back when we were trying to beat the recall and all that type of stuff. And he's running against a Republican whose the name, once again, is Mary DeMoor. And this is where we have to eat our side alive. We have primaries for a reason. And in this case, it's a general election. The two conservatives made it to the general election. It's a rare, or the two people saying they're conservatives. But the problem with Mary DeMoor is we actually have a voting record. And we have a record of the McGuanago School Board standing in the way of parents being able to comment about their concerns about the COVID-19 protocols. The requirements that if one person is sick in your whole household has to stay away from school for the week and all that stuff like that. And she may be conservative and maybe has some conservative views. I've heard some people describe her as a Mitt Romney conservative. But the problem is she's not standing up and fighting. She was not that voice saying, I'm against this. I'm against the lockdowns. I'm against the keeping our kids in masks. I'm against preventing parents from being allowed to speak their mind in front of the board. This is someone who is supposed to be a conservative. And, lo and behold, there's an organization out there called WISRED, and they've done a lot of good. They've started getting involved in, because the Democrats are now complaining because the Republican Party is getting involved in these local, nonpartisan races. Bullcrap. The liberals have been doing it for decades. We're just finally doing what they're doing, and they're upset. And they've had a great track record, won a large percentage of the seats where they put up candidates and everything else. Well, where it comes into difficulty is you've got a Republican candidate who refuses to stand up for parents, who refuses to stand up for free speech rights. This is actually a big concern. I'm disappointed that WISRED has endorsed her. Once again, they do a lot of good, but I think they've got this one wrong. And I'll say it. And I'm doing it in a public forum because that's just the way I do things. And I respect Terry Dietrich and Chris Linker and Bonnie Lee and many of the other people involved in this whole selection committee and stuff like that. Well, I mean, in this case, they're endorsing both candidates. I think what they're doing, they're trying to stay out of the fray. They're both good conservatives and everything like that. But the problem is they've got an issue with somebody having a voting record. Some people don't think it's that big of a deal, but the fact that, what's that old saying? Acquiescence is acceptance. Nobody's speaking up. I don't care if you're the lone voice who's against it. You're not speaking up, standing up for your people. And we saw some of that in Waukesha County. The city of Waukesha School Board, there was Amanda Roddy, always been conservative, that type of thing. She had some bad votes there at the end, and the Republicans, the conservatives, voted her out because she wasn't standing up anymore, Good, and that was up to them to do it, up to the city of Waukesha to do it, and everything. But in this case, you have someone on video refusing to say, hey, no, we should let these parents speak. Hey, no, we shouldn't put our kids in masks. Hey, no, we shouldn't force mandatory vaccinations. Hey, no, we shouldn't go to virtual learning, all that stuff. For the past 2 years, she's got this track record. And, so I'm just going to say buyer beware. So if you live in the city of Mugwanago, you have a school board election. You do have, for sure, one person who's going to stand up and fight because that's this type of person they are. Dale Porter is a father with kids in the system. He's a hard worker. He and his wife have been together for many years. I believe she's an attorney, and he was a stay-at-home dad, Mr. Mom. So that's kind of a cool thing. I wish I could have been Mr. Mom, although that's much harder work in my opinion. I respect you moms out there, and it is International Women's Month, so ironically enough, I did have ribs tonight. Sorry, that was a bad joke. Don't hate me, folks. Don't hate me. But get it? Adam's rib. Okay. Anyway, so and that's what I'm coming down to. So that's chapter 1 of my show tonight. Lions, Tigers, and Bears, oh my. Rinos and Politicians. Oh my, I forgot what my title was. It was a clever title, and I forgot what it was, and I can't see it right now. But just go back, that article's in Wisconsin right now. It was probably back in mid-January that I wrote it. Well, more recently, I wrote an article and titled the article, let's try it again. Republican legislative action when they are powerless to act is no action at all. That was the name of my title. And I was calling to task all these sudden conservative bills that were coming out there, constitutional carry, beating heart abortion bill. I'm just naming a couple. The fact that we still have a huge income tax. There are some people proposing, hey, let's eliminate the income tax in Wisconsin. All this stuff that never saw the light of day when Governor Walker was in office. And I called Robin Vos to task because he was one of the leaders. You know, some people are telling me, oh, it was Scott Walker who didn't want it, or it was Robin Vos who didn't want it. I don't care. Anybody in leadership at that point was a problem. And I even made the point that they rewarded Senator Fitzgerald with a congressional seat. They basically cleared the field for him. You know, when you have their people stealing signs of the one Republican candidate who stayed in, you know, it's kind of petty. You know, he was going to be the sure winner anyway because the party endorsed him and blah, 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 blah. Well, anyway, we have a situation where the party is coming under much fire for their support of this endorsement. They're getting a little too pushy with their endorsements. In the past, the party would have voting at the annual convention, and then if anybody got 50% of the vote or greater, they would get the money from the party. And then the other candidate wouldn't. And if nobody got the 50%, nobody got money from the party, and the party waited until the primary was over. Well, I really think that the party shouldn't be making those decisions. And some people, you know, take issue with the fact that I have an issue with that. But I'm not the only one. This is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of conservatives around the state. And we've got the party loyalists who go to the conventions, who go to a lot of the events, who volunteer to knock on doors and stuff like that, which out of hundreds of thousands of conservatives and Republicans out there, all right, Ed's in the house, Orlando's in the house. Who else have we got here? And Carol commented earlier. Thank you guys for commenting. Benjamin, Brenner, Gerard, how's it going? So anyway, so we had one candidate. I mean, we've got a few of the, and I'm going to use Lieutenant Governor as an example right now. We have probably, I don't know, what is it, 24 candidates for Lieutenant Governor? The ones that come to mind, obviously David King, Cindy Warner, Ben Vogel, Teston. There's a state senator who just jumped in, Jonathan Wickman, who's running. He was running for governor all this time, and then suddenly he's now running for lieutenant governor, and his decision. I feel bad for his supporters, but that was his decision. Anyway, a lot of these candidates have come out pretty vocal, and it's obvious the party is clearly pushing Becky Kleefisch for governor and Teston, and is it Bill Teston? I don't know, but Teston for lieutenant governor. They're really pushing those two. And I don't think they should be doing that. But lo and behold, you've got a lot of candidates that are coming out telling the party to go pound sand. And I love it. You got Cindy Warner on record telling them, to pound sand. She's staying in the race till August. David King telling him to go pound sand. He's staying in the race till August. And today, or this was, was it? I think it was today. Yeah, 3/16, today. On Twitter, yesterday was the deadline for candidates to prove to WIS GOP whether or not we're viable for state convention or not. The end result, party higher-ups are dictating to the grassroots who the acceptable candidates are, and it's wrong. For lieutenant governor, you need 300 donors and $50,000 raised just to get on stage. Doesn't matter how many grassroots events you did, and in some cases didn't do. Fortunately for me, I met those marks. Others didn't. So they're not going to be able to, it's kind of pay to play. And we're hearing a lot about this. And they had some of this when you had to reach a certain threshold to be in the big kids groups because there were so many candidates. And in this case, the lieutenant governor's race does have a lot of candidates. So I can kind of sing it through that. Law school is rough. Oh, man, it's so easy. If George W. Bush could do it, you can do it. Okay, where are you getting that from? Where am I getting what from? I don't know what you're talking about, Ed. So, but anyway, been vocal. So despite having supporters across the state, they won't get a chance to talk to the biggest crowd and earn their support. Good news for the medicine politicians, though. They've been raising money for years, and we're able to roll that support over. That is fundamentally wrong if we're going to be a party that is truly of and for the grassroots. The voice of grassroots needs to matter. I donated to my fellow candidates and their supporters so they could be heard. Now I'm calling on the state party to make all lieutenant governor candidates viable. In other words, let them all be heard. I actually have that. Oh, dear God. Orlando, it's not the point of being just showing up. Everybody's going to show up. The issue is not being given stage time. And I think folks who don't have opponents shouldn't get any stage time. How's that? Anyway, but seriously, I mean, this guy's entitled to his opinions. And, they're going to go through and participate with Republicans and stuff like that. But in the end, ultimately, it matters when you get to the ground game. That is what's important here. And I don't think the party should be picking favorites. Who's to decide who's viable? Based on that, Rebecca Clayfish, the party favorite today, Rebecca Clayfish would not have been allowed to play at the convention in 2010. That she was literally the first one voted out because they had a vote. They tried to narrow down the list and narrow it down. Ultimately, I don't think anybody got the 50% or whatever. But she was the first one voted out. She was at the bottom of the list. But yet she was able to come back and win. And there's the actual historical precedent for this back even beyond 2010. Lee Sherman Dreyfus ultimately became governor, was the dark horse candidate. Yes, Tracy, absolutely. Anybody actually on the ballot should be allowed to speak. I agree. I'm trying to allow these comments to be shown, and I'm using a new program, so I'm not sure how to add comments to add to broadcast. There we go. Anybody should be allowed to speak on stage. There we go. Darlene says it isn't play to pay, making sure they're a viable candidate. And who decides who's viable ultimately? What if people's supporters were all grassroots, where people are paying $5. They're not going to raise $50,000. If that were the case, Senator Proxmire had he had a an opponent for running for re-election. His last election, I think he spent like $500. That's all he raised. So, regardless, the party should not decide who the rank and file voters are allowed to vote for. So people are giving Bob Donnell some flack because Bob Donnell is not allowing Rebecca Kleefisch to speak at events that the Digest puts on. I don't have a problem with anybody speaking, personally. I didn't have any issue with anybody speaking because, to me, it's anybody's ball game right now because nobody has clinched a deal right now. But nonetheless, it's the Digest event. This is Bob's baby. He can choose who he wants to speak. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's just the way it is. And the party is going to decide who they want to speak. But the problem is the party is a bigger apparatus. And they're picking and choosing. Had the party been allowed to pick and choose, which they ultimately tried to do back in 2016, Jeb Bush would have been the nominee, no matter what. Donald Trump took the apple cart and flipped it over and ended up winning in spite of all of that. But he was a multi-billionaire. And just like saying, Kevin Nicholson waited until beginning of February to officially announce, although people knew he was running. And people are mad that he waited so long. Oh, and other people saying it's a consolation prize. And that's, these are the things. Let me go through my list of concerns with all the candidates. Okay, we'll start with Kevin Nicholson. Kevin Nicholson in 2018 made a bad impression with a lot of people. Although he did win more than half the state. Just saying. I supported Leah Vukmir in 2016 because I've known her a lot longer. And she's practically family, and I just know she's a good character, stuff like that. But I was also officially on record, regardless of who won, I would have supported them afterwards. And I supported Leah, obviously, in the general election, and I would have supported Kevin in the general election. I like Kevin's backstory. I like the fact he used to be a Democrat. Because our job is to talk to people and let them know that there's another way, there's a better way. But he came across, a lot of people thought he came across as cocky and that kind of thing, and I get that. And, hey, Melina's watching. But Kevin Nicholson has learned a lot, and he's worked very hard for the past 3 years or whatever, since 2018. 2 years. Oh, yeah, well, almost 4 years. Holy cow. So 3 years. He's been out there busting his butt, getting a message out there about critical race theory and all the other things that the left is trying to push into our schools, into our the fact that we're spending ourselves into oblivion and that type of thing. Kevin Nicholson has come a long way, but he's having difficulty winning over the more traditional Republicans who, or at least apparently right now, we've only had one poll and it's still early. August is a long way away, but he's having trouble kind of closing the deal with those folks who are more, dare I say, establishment Republicans, but more mainstream Republicans. And he's got a long way to go to win those people over. A lot of people are butthurt because in 2016, he dared to go against Leah, who at the time was a party favorite. Although I don't believe that Leah is establishment, just like I don't buy the fact that Rebecca Kleefisch is establishment. But there we go. Now here's my issues with Rebecca. Right now, the party is pushing her and stacking the deck against everybody else because it's her turn. How many times has the Republican Party been forced to vote for somebody because it's their turn? Bob Dole, anyone? John McCain, anyone? Mitt Romney, anyone? And it probably would have been Jeb Bush if Donald Trump hadn't come in and messed it all up. So, Rebecca's issue is she's become the favorite of the establishment, and the perception is she is the establishment. Now, we all know the reality was Rebecca Kleefisch, like I said, she came in dead last at the convention, still came back, took on the Good Old Boy Network, and won. Hardly the establishment. The Republican favorite with this other guy, I don't remember who it was. And I actually supported Becky back then because I thought that she was the one, because I liked the fact that she took on the establishment. So, unfortunately, she's toe-to-toe with them, and a lot of people have an issue with it. And she's going to have a hard time overcoming those people who are upset at the Madison elites. Just like a lot of people are upset at the Washington, D.C. elites, the Madison elites, the Robin Vosses of the world. Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, Robin Voss is the new boogeyman. Well, he kind of is. And why are we going after our own? Because we need to hold our own accountable. That's the problem with the Democrats. They don't think. Instead of holding Bill Clinton accountable, oh, they circled the wagons. They got power, so we got to keep them. We got to do everything we can to keep them. You know, that kind of thing. That's what the Democrats do, and the Republicans are becoming that way. And Robin Voss endorsed Rebecca Kleefisch, which I think was the kiss of political death. A whole lot of people do not like Robin Voss around the state. Yeah, the partisan people who go to everything in Racine voted a vote of confidence in him, even though there are different districts around, or different districts around the state who are voting a vote of no confidence, telling Robin Voss to resign. Now, personally, I'm fine with him in the assembly. I'm pretty sure he'll vote right. I just want him out of leadership because he's not moving the agenda forward. We didn't get constitutional carry. We didn't ban Common Core from our curriculum in school 10 years ago. And that's why we're fighting this battle of critical race theory, intersectionality, and what's the other buzzword? Well, anyway, one of the many buzzwords the left uses for basically racism. Systemic racism. Actual systemic racism. You know, we used to be we're the nation of systemic opportunity. But yeah, they're screaming about systemic racism, and they're the ones that are pushing systemic racism. My 15-year-old is all of a sudden an oppressor when I have to remind him to take a shower. But yeah, he's an oppressor. You know, that kind of thing. But anyway, so Rebecca's liability is the fact that she's gonna, and you gotta kind of see a pattern here. Rebecca is going to struggle getting those grassroots people. And she's struggling. We saw that poll. She was largely ahead of everybody. You know, she was like more than double what Kevin Nicholson was. But the bigger picture there is that she has not sealed the deal, and she's been basically campaigning for 2 years. She's really struggling, and a lot of people are struggling with choosing her because the other thing is they're afraid of what Walker baggage will do to her ability to win in a general election. Because, like it or not, Scott Walker was a 50-50 governor. and barely 50-50. With the exception of the recall, and that was an anomaly because there were a lot of Democrats, including my aunt and uncle, who did not support the recall. But yet never voted for Walker any other time. So that's why Walker got to like 56% of the vote or whatever it was, which was, an electoral landslide. Excuse me. In the state of Wisconsin, and that was 2012. But every other time it was like barely 50%, a little over 50%. And then he lost by, 20, 30,000 votes, about the same margin that Joe Biden won. And of course, we all know about the 2 a.m. ballot dump in Milwaukee County in each of those elections. It's kind of funny how that always just favors the Democrat. There's never a sudden, oh my God, we have 100,000 ballots and they were 90% for the Republican. No, it's always for the Democrat. So and then they wonder why people wonder about the integrity of elections. But anyway, so Becky hasn't had a chance to seal the deal. And then we've got the MyPillow guy. Oh, fudge. We got Adam Fisher who's running. He's an outlier. Who not a lot of people know who he is, and he's slowly building up steam. So these are all people who are barely making it, but could be viable if we get a chance to hear who they are, but the party's not going to allow it because they've decided it's going to be Becky. And if you dare criticize, Rantham, thank you, Darlene. Rantham Rantham, not Ramthun. I keep on mixing that up. Sorry for murdering your name, dude. But he is a state assemblyman who Robin Vos took away his staffer because this guy's been pushing for, digging deeper into the election to find out what happened in 2020. And Robin Vos doesn't want to do any of that. He says it's over. Why? Because we all know Robin Vos doesn't care that Trump lost. It's more and more obvious that he was a never Trumper. Really didn't do anything to help Donald Trump in 2020. I'll give everybody a pass in 2016, but in 2020, Trump proved himself. So the fact that he didn't go out there, and that's also a con for Rebecca, as a lot of people were thinking, other than the one Women for Trump bus trip that it was a real short bus trip, she really didn't do anything to help Donald Trump when she could have. She had the bully pulpit being, a high-ranking Republican in the state. So anyway, Rantham. So he's the anti-establishment guy, but he's also somebody catering to the wing of the party that really wants to look deeper into the election. Good, bad, or indifferent. Now, I think we should look into it, but some people are saying that he wants to overturn the 2020 election. And I don't know that he's actually said that, but now we had this report from former Supreme Court Justice Gableman, who was doing the whole investigation. He basically said, and I heard Robin Vos was pissed about this, but Gableman said, we need to decertify the election. But he doesn't know how it's possible. So, and Robin was pissed at that, but Robin's mad at me because I compared his leadership style. I said his draconian Pelosi-esque leadership style. So he didn't like that I used Pelosi-esque, I hear from, and I've got people in all kinds of circles. And now Robin Vos, by the way, does have a primary. Adam Steen is the guy, S-T-E-E-N. Is he a viable candidate? We don't know. But we know the party is going to do everything to keep Adam Steen out of the convention because you're not allowed to have a different opinion. How dare you question the leadership? And I know this all too well back when I worked for the guy that took on Paul Ryan back in 2016. So, yeah, I've seen some of that. But anyway, back to Rantham. I keep going on these tangents. Yeah. And Tracy says we need to tell Robin to shut the hell up sometimes. That's basically what I'm trying to do. Shut the hell up and listen to the people for a change. That's my whole thing. And I think this would have been the one thing that I haven't heard him say that, Darlene. If you could provide an article or something where he says that, because a lot of people say he said it, but I haven't heard it. So until I do that, I'm not going to put words up. There's a lot of misinformation. There's also people saying that Rebecca Kleefisch is not really pro-life, and I poo-pooed that as well. So, but if Rebecca Kleefisch had come up and said, Robin, I did not ask for your endorsement. You've got your own job to do. If she had come up against Robin Vos at that point, that Marquette poll, she would have been at like 60%. That's her one Achilles heel, as she is perceived to be the establishment candidate. And now Robin Vos has endorsed her, so he wants her. But anyway, back to Rantham. I keep going away from Rantham. His big endorsement is the MyPillow guy. Love the MyPillow guy. I love his backstory. The former cocaine addict who was broke and destitute, coming back to have this $1 million business and stuff like that. And it's oh, Hilario. Yeah, my friend, you've got a lot to learn. I will tell you how. But so anyway, Rantham got the MyPillow endorsement, and he's going around the state, basically election integrity is his big issue, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is he was what I would call a hard right conservative. He would be the Buchanan wing of the party, per se. When he had the Buchanan, he's very hard conservative right. And I'm a realist. William F. Buckley always says, you always support the most conservative candidate who can win. The Buchanans of the world, the Ted Cruzes of the world, they're never going to win a national election. Same goes for the state of Wisconsin. It's a purple state, and we're kind of a purple country, maybe a silver center right. The difference between Biden and Trump in the states that mattered were like 80,000 votes. 80,000 votes gone the other way. Thank you, never Trumpers. We would have had President Trump for another 4 years. But anyway, Rantham would be considered, in my opinion, too conservative to win the state. Now, do I think he should be, because of that, he shouldn't have a seat at the table at the convention? No, I think he should have every right to speak. I think we should hear him. Just like I mentioned before, I think Rebecca should be able to speak at Conservative Digest events. And that's fine. But Rebecca also, to her discredit, I've been, ever since I've known Bob Donnell since I did that TOSA rally in 2012. And haven't seen Rebecca or Scott Walker at any of those events until this last chicken burn last August. That was the first time since probably 2012. So she wants the Bob Donnell Conservative Digest followers when it's convenient for her. It's sad, but anyway, but that's the whole thing. We're also a private organization. We aren't necessarily public. The Republican Party of Wisconsin is not a private organization. They're public, just like the Democrats. And the Democrats do the same thing that the Republicans are doing. Excuse me. They pick and lose. We saw Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. We saw that back in 2016, 2020 with Bernie Sanders. It's the same thing. I get it. It's a process. Is how it works. But so that was early on. So I don't know. Regardless, Rantham is calling for that, whatever, and he has every right to do so. There's a lot of people that want that. I don't think there's a constitutional way to do it. I think that we're stuck with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi. That is our line of succession. Embrace it. And we'll all see how it's working. So anyway, so there's Rantham. Rantham, will he win? Even if he wins, he can, guys, don't discount anything. He could actually win the primary, but he's going to lose the general election. Rebecca Kleefisch could win the primary, and she could lose the general election. Kevin Nicholson could win the primary, and he could lose the general election. And here's how it's going to happen. Going back to the very first comment I had tonight, Carol Gavin said, it's sad how Republicans eat each other alive, Democrats stick with each other. That's why we lose elections and they don't. Well, the problem is people have got to get over themselves. Support who you want in the primary. I actually decided I'm not even voting in the primary. I'm voting in the general election. I will, short of another candidate coming in, and I'll come to that in a minute, but I'm going to support the winner. If you're supporting Rebecca and Kevin Nicholson wins, you know how many people I'm hearing saying, oh, he's an arrogant ass, I'm not going to support him. No way, I'm just going to vote for Johnson and I'm not voting for anyone else. Or Nicholson supporters saying, well, if Rebecca Kleefisch wins, that means it's establishment. I'm not going to vote for her. I'm going to vote for Johnson and nobody else. It's like, are you guys stupid? And I'm saying that out loud. If Rebecca wins, I'm voting for Rebecca. If Kevin wins, I'm voting for Kevin. If Rantham wins, I'm voting for Rantham. If I win a write-in campaign, I'm voting for me. Damn it. Paris Prokopis for governor. I look like Scott Walker. I just don't have the bald spot. But that's ultimately the stance we've got to take. Another 4 years of Tony Evers. Your principles don't mean crap if you don't support the winner. That's my issue. I'm hearing so much stupidity. And of course, you got the Jonathan Wickman wing, which seems to have followed now Rantham. And I had my issues with Wickman, but he's no longer running for governor. He is running for lieutenant governor, and my same issue comes into play. He supported the recall of Tony Evers. In fact, he was probably one of the people really involved in spearheading that. At least he took credit for it anyway. But because of that, I can't support him because I thought the recall of Evers was a stupid idea. Once again, took away from Donald Trump, including giving the fact that giving Tony Evers the ability to raise all kinds of money, millions of dollars in that time that they were collecting signatures. And guess what they did with it? They got more votes for Joe Biden. Whether they were legit or not, that's in question. But they got more votes for Joe Biden, and Biden won the state of Wisconsin, at least according to the official tally and the recounts. But you're recounting the same ballots, you're going to get pretty much the same result. I've never seen a result change. So if there's a problem with the ballots, that's why we need a forensic audit, and I totally support that. But not under the guise of overturning the election. It's not going to happen. There's just no way. And I actually think if we were to overturn the election today, it would be the worst thing for the country. No matter how much I would love to have Donald Trump in the White House right now, especially with what's going on in Russia and everything like that, the worst thing for our country. It would destroy the country. No. Joe Biden's our president until 2024. I hope. End of 2024. I hope he is, because I don't want Kamala to take over. Joe Biden is incompetent because he has dementia. Kamala Harris is incompetent without dementia. That makes her worse. That makes her worse. Yeah. So Yeah, so I'm going to support the winner no matter what. I'm not going to cut off my nose to spite my face, and I'm gonna support no matter what. And that's the same thing. Bob Donnell, Bob has concerns that Becky can't win, and that's the big thing. A lot of people feel Becky can't win. So here's the problem: the butt hurt aspect of this. Becky cannot win because a lot of people are pissed about Scott Walker leaving the party in debt, and $500,000 in debt, and Scott Walker didn't care about Wisconsin. Then we started to find out all this stuff, like he wasn't even spending weekends in Wisconsin because he was at Washington D.C. every weekend and that kind of thing. So that's Becky's problem. Nicholson has the same problem, and let's be honest, they're both the front runners right now. Now Nicholson winning the primary, there's going to be a lot of pissed off Republicans because he said to the Republican Party, you guys have screwed up the past, losing 11 of 12 elections, statewide elections. He's not wrong. Kevin Nicholson has every right to say it, and it should be said. The Republican Party Madison elites who don't care about the Republicans in the state have screwed us over. Nicholson is absolutely right. But in the end, Nicholson is going to need those people. Yeah, Hilario. Okay, I'll talk about that in a minute. Keep reminding me. Hilario's asked me to discuss how he thinks that the party can keep people from talking. It's happened. I've seen it. So we'll hold on a second. We'll come back to that. So at any rate, so Nicholson has every right to do this, but okay, so now Nicholson has killed half of his voter base by condemning him. It's politics. I think people should have thicker skin. So half the voter base, okay, if he wins, support him because he's not Tony Evers. And then Becky's got the same problem. Half of her voter base, she's writing them off because she's having trouble connecting with the grassroots. The grassroots don't think she can win. It's a realistic, she hasn't proven to everybody. Now, I'm not saying any of these candidates can't earn my vote. August is a long way away. As of right now, I'm not voting, but I might vote. We'll see. So the two front-runner candidates, the third place candidate is a long distance away, and I have lots of concerns about him winning the general. So what happens if someone viable decides to join the race? Then the equation changes. Someone like a Pied Piper. Oh, Paul, I'm going to vote in the general election. I'm just not going to vote in the primary because I don't think it matters, because the general election is where it all matters. Because at this point, it's going to be a toss-up. Whoever wins. And we saw Kevin Nicholson won like 80% of the state, and Leah Vukmir won the other 20%, but she was able to beat him because she won in Milwaukee County. That's just the way it is. Yeah, Rebecca could learn a thing or two from Orlando. Orlando's working, I'll give him credit. He's working hard trying to connect with the grassroots out there and the establishment. So he's embracing both sides. So, okay, I meant to say not voting. Okay, David, I meant to say not voting for governor. So I've already been pretty clear. I'm voting for David King for lieutenant governor, because I think he differentiates himself because he shakes the trees. I like that. Plus, once again, I know him. I'm loyal to people I've known for a long time. So, just like I was for Leah Vukmir in 2018. I'm struggling with governor, though. I'm struggling beyond all recognition because the fact of the matter, the governor's got to excite the base. And Kevin's not going to excite half the base. Rebecca's not going to excite half the base. So what do we need here? We need someone else to get in the race. And I like the idea of Eric Hovde. There's a lot of talk he might join the race. And hear me out before you guys freak out. He's a Madison Republican. No, he's been out there. He's working. He's not a perpetual, politician. He ran in 2012, almost beat Tommy Thompson, arguably the most recognizable political figure in the last part of the century. But Eric Hovde, an unknown, political unknown, almost beat him. And that says a lot. And Eric Hovde is a conservative. He's not a hardline conservative. But like I said, I don't think a hardline conservative could win the state election. So that's where you have the harder right conservative and lieutenant governor, have the more mainstream conservative as governor, and it just kind of balances out. It balances the tickets. You get the solid base, one, a little more crossover appeal and stuff like that as well. I think with David King, you get a little bit of both because David King's got that crossover appeal because he'll talk to anybody. He's not afraid of anybody. He'll engage with anybody. He doesn't care. And he doesn't have to agree with you. He'll have a conversation with you. And I like that about him. And I think anybody should be out there doing that. I think Kevin Nicholson's got to be better at working a room. I think Rebecca Kleefisch has got to be better at working the room. She showed up to a digest event, found out she wasn't going to be able to speak, so she left. She missed an opportunity to engage with voters. You don't need to speak on stage to engage with voters. You can go around person to person to person to person, shake hands and meet them. I was kind of disappointed in her for leaving. So, Eric Hovde. Anyway, if he gets in a race, first of all, he's got name recognition. He's run before. Hopefully he has a better campaign apparatus because he should be able to win. And he's the only one, quite frankly, the Republican Party is going to blow their wad trying to get Rebecca Kleefisch to win in August. We know they're going to. They're officially going to be neutral, but they're going to do everything they can for Rebecca Kleefisch to win. And then from August until November, they'll have zero money to beat Evers. So somebody like Eric Hovde adds another piece to the puzzle. Eric Hovde has a great deal of his own personal wealth. He's worth 9 figures. He could easily put a couple million into the race, in the general election, and level the playing field. And what that'll do is also help Ron Johnson immensely. And he could play the Pied Piper, so to speak. Yeah, the Republican Party apparatus has a lot of issues and they have a bad track record. Yeah, the grassroots has a lot to say, but they don't have 100% of the answers either. So let's unite a unified front and win. Because none of us matters if we don't win. So you people, I'm not voting unless my candidate's the winner, I'm not going to vote for the general election. It's absolutely moronic. Only with a unified front do we win. in August. Unified front. After the primary, we're unified. Because we need Ron Johnson. Now more than ever, we need Ron Johnson in the Senate. And we need Tony Evers the hell out of the governor's mansion. Yeah, that's been my rub at the Republican grand design. These elitists in Madison, they spent a few $1 million on robocalls for Donald Trump, but really didn't pay volunteers to get out there and win. In 2020 or in 2018 with Scott Walker, they didn't mobilize the volunteers out there to win. But the consultant class in Madison still got paid. They got paid millions of dollars. Where the Democrats are busy paying other people to come to the polls and paying, paying people to get people to the polls. Yes, the Republicans let voting in the park happen. That falls at the footsteps of Robin Vos. That should have immediately gotten in front of the Supreme Court. They were voting before they were allowed to. Jay, what about Secretary of State? I think Secretary of State is going to be directly tied to who the governor is. And I actually think, I'm glad you have a primary, Jay. I think everyone should have a primary. First of all, it makes everybody work a little harder, but it also gives a little more attention to a race. So it makes it that much more important. And you're running against someone who, she's state assembly rep down in Lake Geneva area-ish, Walworth County. And her name is escaping me. Hey, forgive me. I know her. I know him. They both have varying different philosophies. But once again, hopefully that brings more people out to the polls. Honestly, Jay, you're going to bring people out to the polls. She's going to bring people out to the polls. We've got Orlando running for treasurer unopposed. I thought he was going to be opposed, but I haven't decided if I'm going to run for treasurer or not. So I might run for treasurer too. So I might run for treasurer and lieutenant governor. David, I'm going to run against you for lieutenant governor, okay? Because it seems like everybody's getting in a race. How many candidates do we have? I think it's 12 candidates for lieutenant governor. That's just crazy. So, and we all know David's not going to play the partisan games that they play at convention. So that's good. He's not going to step out. He's in it to win it, and he's in until August. So, and then continuing on to November, hopefully. So, but that's nobody. If anybody gets out of the race, I never want them running for politics again. No, your supporters demand, if they're supporting you, they spent money, you stay in the race till the end. So, 9. David King says that there's 9. Oh, well, there you go. Jay Schrader just got my vote because Robin Vos endorses his opponent. So that settles that. So there's 9 candidates running for lieutenant governor, and well, it's only March, so I'm sure there'll be another 14 candidates. And then apparently Jonathan Wickman is running twice because he's got a bigger head. So, I like the guy. I've known him well. He's got a nice wife. He's a good guy. I really couldn't get over the fact that he was, first of all, campaigning when Donald Trump was more important than anything. And that's going to be ultimately what happens. But we've got an uphill climb because you know what? Milwaukee, after the Supreme Court, Hagedorn actually voted with the conservatives for once. He's like 1 for 5 or something like that, voting with conservatives. And said no ballot boxes. But City of Milwaukee, they're keeping ballot boxes. They're going to have the boxes there, and they're going to have a person who's an employee of the election commission or whatever sitting there at the drop box. We better have cameras in every single one of those frickin' drop boxes. So honestly, I don't even know if we can win in November. I think they're going to have their magical 30,000 votes, even though it's supposed to be streamlined. And Robin Voss almost tried to screw us again with that. I keep going after Robin Voss, but I'm sorry. Yeah, he may have been effective when he first started, but he let the people of Wisconsin down because he ignored many of the important issues. There's no reason why Wisconsin shouldn't have constitutional carry. There's no reason why Wisconsin shouldn't have a beating heart abortion bill. There's no reason that Wisconsin shouldn't have Common Core and CRT the hell out of our schools. There's no reason that people who come to UW-Madison for college should be allowed to vote even though they're residents of another state. There's no way. All this stuff that should have been done while Walker was governor, that didn't happen because of Robin Voss's lack of leadership. Whether Walker wanted it or not was irrelevant. I don't care that he wanted to run for president. That was also that was also stupid of him to do, but he was arrogant enough. Great haircut. All right. Got that, guys? Here's proof. Sarah thinks I have a great haircut. Do I feel sassy? I needed a haircut. I was looking shaggy. So, hey, you know what? At 52, I have pretty awesome hair. I gotta admit, it's not that, I've got some gray poking in and stuff like that, but I'm doing pretty good. See, we talk about everything on this show. We talk about politics. We talk about my great Greek hair. We talk about having 149 candidates running for lieutenant governor. Yeah, it's quite possible that the winning lieutenant governor candidate will win with like 7,000 votes in the primary. So it's actually a good thing to have so many candidates. And there's going to be a few more governor candidates as well, because I know Eric Hovde is considering it. There's a gentleman by the name of Van Mobley. He ran the Trump campaign back in 2016 here in the state of Wisconsin. And there is a, oh, that's an interesting one. There is a chance that he's going to jump in the race. Smart guy. He was a Concordia professor. And now he's like the Thiensville village president or something like that. I don't know. And that's it. Ooh, Melina Prokopis, my middle child, has chimed in. What's my opinion of daylight savings? That's kind of a weird thing. I'm not sure on that, because the daylight savings, it's always a pain in the ass. We got to switch hour ahead, hour behind, whatever. I mean, at this point in my life, it doesn't really hurt me one way or another. But there's some people saying we have it wrong as well. It should be the opposite time frame we should be in. I don't know. But the bill they're passing, I know you're talking about that. They're trying to eliminate daylight savings altogether, but I don't know if they're going to stay in this time frame that we're in currently, or if we're going to switch to the other time frame and stay there permanently. So your guess is as good as mine. Uh-oh. Well, that could be losing an hour of sleep. Oh, well, I went to bed like 3 in the morning last night, so I'm due for a heart attack. All right, David King says he will win. Oh, 4 candidates in the SOS race. Secretary say, who else is running? I only know of the 2 candidates. So anyway, I've been babbling enough, but start pressuring City of Milwaukee. They should not have those ballot boxes. There's a movie, Dinesh D'Souza is releasing another movie in beginning of May, and it's called like 2,000 Mules or something like that. And all these people that were delivering duffel bags full of ballots to all these drop boxes around the country, including Wisconsin, in all the don't die. She needs allowance. Okay. Thanks, Melina. I love you. Okay. Okay. Oh, Amy Loudenbeck, Justin. Justin? Who's Justin? Yeah, Sarah, can't wait to see the Dinesh D'Souza movie. I know that Keith Best is going to have a movie night at the Republican Party headquarters. Yeah, it's supposed to be earth-shattering. I hope so. I hope it's not earth-shattering like My Pillow guy earth-shattering. Every time, he was like, I got the goods. We're going to upturn everything. And it's like, yes. And I'm still waiting for JFK Jr. to come back to life. So that hasn't happened. So, but yes, I can't wait to see that movie. But anyway, we gotta be vigilant. Guys, in the end, ultimately, Tony Evers has done a horrible job as governor. He's trying to tout his one tax increase. He was basically forced to approve it, or his tax cut, but he was increasing taxes and everything else. His initial proposals had all these huge increases until he finally acquiesced and signed one. But he did it for political reasons, so they could say, hi, I cut your taxes. Act now, get a free Chia Pet. Honestly, we got to get Tony Evers out of office, and we need to keep Ron Johnson in the United States Senate. We've seen the incompetence by the Democrats right now in what's going on with the Ukraine and everything like that. And guys, as far as the Ukraine goes, sit back and wait for the facts to come out. Everybody's being so knee-jerk. You've got all this virtue signaling. Oh, everybody's got their Ukraine flag and stuff like that. And I'm saying Vladimir Putin is a tyrant. I know that he is. But none of this makes sense. He never struck me as that inept to miscalculate like this. Or is this all going as planned? We just don't know. So settle down. And then somebody's got to go put a sock in Lindsey Graham's mouth so he doesn't talk to the media anymore. How in the hell do you go around saying, hey, you people should assassinate your president? Saying that the Russians should assassinate Putin. You're a sitting United States senator. Do you realize that that's an act of war? He should know better. That was so moronic of him to say that. So, I think I'm bored with my background. What should I do? I should do this. I've got a moving background. I'm falling. Okay. All right. I'm not going to... what should I do? Let's see. How about this? Let's do the dark Milwaukee background. See, there's Milwaukee in the background. All right. So I just changed my background. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this tonight. In the end, support your candidate. Don't be stupid. Vote for the winner. That's just what happens. You suck it up, Buttercup. And you support your winner. Otherwise, why participate in anything? Then you can't bitch about how bad of a job Evers is doing it. You don't want to have to do it for another 4 years. And the fact of the matter is the Wisconsin State Supreme Court is very tentative right now because Hagedorn is, I don't use the term loose cannon, but he's not a reliable conservative. He wants to be the smartest person in the room. A lot of people saying he's trying to be the Chief Justice, and so he's trusting the liberals to make him Chief Justice. Brian, they're not going to. They will screw you over. I promise you. We have Roggensack up for re-election, who's not running for re-election. If we lose that seat, the conservatives are screwed in this state. And you've got Dan Kelly likely running. And then you've got Pat Roggensack's daughter likely running. I don't know her very well, although I'm hearing some concerning talk about her, that she'll be Brian Hagedorn at best, and probably even more to the left of him. I hope that's not the case, but those are the two candidates so far. And then we've got, what happens if someone gets old and quits the Supreme Court? Evers will get to replace them for the remainder of their term. That's not good. So think, whether it's Nicholson, whether it's Clayfish, whether it's Hovde, whether it's Tim Michaels if he runs, whether it's Sean Duffy if he'd jump in, if it's any of those, vote for them. Adam Fisher, anybody, vote for them. All right, guys. Well, I got to get going. David, we'll have to talk about bringing you on. I'll have a show with just you on it in a few days. But anyway, tomorrow night, come on down to Clifford's in down in Hales Corners. There's an Wisconsin Conservative Digest is having a kind of a party of sorts, a St. Patrick's Day party. I'll do your favorite Irish jig, and come on down. We're going to have I think Nicholson is speaking. I think it's basically a Law and Order. Bob Donovan's going to be speaking if you want to see Bob Donovan. So come on down. It's Clifford's in Hales Corners. Just look up Clifford's Supper Club or something like that. So check it out. Tomorrow night starts at 6 o'clock and goes till like 8. It's going to be a shorter program. We're only going to have like 5 or 6 speakers at the most. I'll be speaking, so I get to be front and center because I hate attention, and everybody knows that. Well, everybody, stay sassy, stay out of trouble. Remember, vote Republican. Even if you're not that thrilled with the candidate, you support the most conservative candidate who can win. Obviously you've got a hardline conservative that probably can't win. Then they're probably not the most conservative candidate who can win. At this point, we just need balance. We need to be able to offset what's going on in Washington. And we need a governor with some cojones, all right? We need a governor like Rick DeSantis down in Florida. Or Greg Abbott. The dude's in a wheelchair, for crying out loud, and he does a better job of walking the walk, so to speak. So anyway, guys, have an awesome night. I will talk to you soon. I'll have a new show on. It looks like I'm going to be doing shows Wednesday nights and probably Sunday nights. And then I'll continue doing that on a more consistent schedule. And I do intend to do more writing for Wisconsin Conservative, or for Wisconsin Right Now, because I like the platform, and Jessica McBride and Jim Pivovarczyk are great people, and I like what they're doing over there. So anyway, have an awesome night. I'll talk to you soon. Stay sassy. Bye.